Hey everybody, welcome back, and today we are going to be doing a park review for Big Dam Water Park. So let's hit the intro and get straight into the video. This park shows the enormity of how good a park can be when you change management. This park showcases a lot of things that while originally executed was received by the community and people around the area that it was very, very poor, can easily turn around to be something really and truly special. We went into this water park with extremely low expectations based on the experiences that we had when we visited the park when it was entitled Holiday Springs. The new management that came in did a lot of positive changes and some changes that kind of stayed the same. We'll get into those later. A lot of the changes, and one of the biggest changes, is the execution of operations and the cleanliness. I want to talk a little bit about cleanliness because it was one of the things that I struggled to kind of get behind back in 2022 when we went and did our initial review here. The cleanliness of the park back in 2022 was very, very bad. And when people would talk about the park, they would also talk about how dirty it was and how the workers and management did not enforce their staff cleaning up the park or having someone to clean up the park. And when management was confronted with it, they would just say that, we're just working with what we got. We're doing the best that we can, but that type of thing, cleanliness in a park that has a bunch of kids coming in, especially in a water park when you got kids that get water in their face. Sometimes they swallow it. Cleanliness is a very, very big deal because if you go into a water park that's not clean, you're not going to bring your kids back. I'm not taking my son to a water park that's dirty, just not doing it, which is one of the reasons why we were very, very skeptical about coming back to the park after 3 years. When we walked into the park, the first thing we noticed was the bottleneck area up at the admissions desk. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the first thing that we noticed that was really, really shocking was how very well kept up the park was. Everything was organized. It looked better. The new cabanas that had been brought into the park were a good thing. It was a very good addition. But overall, the park had this brand new coat of paint, literally a brand new coat of paint. We could tell that they did a pretty good job painting, especially around the lazy river, and just about everywhere else was freshly painted. And I'm assuming that they did that for the new season versus, just it being there. It looked like it was pretty well fresh. And if it hadn't been fresh, then they did a good job of keeping everything clean along the way. But the cleanliness here was a complete 180. It went against everything that Holiday Springs was, which was a very, very big deal. The types of attractions that are at the park range from things that you would have for a small child to things that you would have for your thrill-seeking adults like me or teenagers. There is the kid area, which is fantastic. It consists of about 4 to 5 slides over there. There are just a lot of areas that kids can run and play, especially your smaller kids. Even your infants, you can get up there with your small infants and take them down those slides, and they'll have fun. I've done that with mine when he was a baby. So the kid area is fantastic. It's for kids of all ages. It doesn't really matter, what you are, how old you are. And then there's an adolescent area, which is kind of like a pool. I think it gets up to about 5.5 feet of water. So kind of want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your kids in that environment. And then, of course, you've got your lazy river, which, it's pretty straightforward. No reason to explain what that is. Everybody that's here knows what a lazy river is. And then you've got like I said, your slides for your, adolescents and your wave pool. The wave pool always will have people in it because people absolutely love the wave pool. My son, bless his heart, loves the wave pool, but he likes sitting at the back of the wave pool, jumping over the little bitty waves. I don't know what his thing is about this, but this is what he likes doing. So the wave pool and the lazy river were two of the places that when we visited back and last time we were here were very dirty. They were very dirty. They were not upkept very well at all. but they were two of the cleanest places here when we came back this time. The entire park as a whole was just overall clean, which is a big deal. And I think that cleanliness changes a different vibe around the workers and the guests coming into the park. So that is a very, very big thing. Don't really have any complaints about the way that everything was operated. I do think that the lazy river could have someone down there at the end delegating of the tubes and everything, because right now people are just kind of just leaving them there and, you know, going about their thing. Now, at the time that we visited the park, they might have been short-handed, so they didn't want to put anyone down there. Didn't really think it was a big deal. And I really don't personally think it's a big deal, because people were kind of figuring out putting the tubes up on the concrete slab there and then just kind of going on about their day. And then people would come. There were so many people there that people would just come and grab them as soon as they were up there. So it's not a big deal. And they did have lifeguards around the lazy river. And I think they wanted to do that. But now that I think about it, someone delegating tubes is kind of just a boring job for anybody. Operations everywhere else around the park was as you would expect at any water park. You know, lifeguards just sitting around minding their own business, not getting involved in anything. And that's one thing that I noticed about a lot of the lifeguards, every single one of them actually. There were a couple of them that had to get engaged when they thought the kids were doing something that might, you know, cause a problem for them. So they engaged with them and told them, hey, you shouldn't be doing this because of this, and then moved on. So operations with this park is fantastic. Cleanliness is fantastic. What are some of the things that the park can work on as a whole? It's actually very straightforward. It's our entry and exits at the park. It was not very well thought out, I think. Or if it was done in a way that is made to make the process, you know, as quick as possible. But you should have a designated lane for people coming into the park and a designated lane for people leaving the park. This prevents a bottleneck in the case of an emergency, because the one thing you don't want is, you know, people tripping and falling or running into each other, and it just eliminates a lot of the confusion. There were several times where we were trying to come into the park and a group of people were trying to come out of the park, and it was just a bottleneck there in that area. So I think for prosperity and to kind of get in line with everything else, that there should be one designated line for people coming in, one line for people coming out. It's just my thought. You know, we've been doing this for a while, but that's really the only bad thing that we could see. The prices to get into the park are extremely affordable, usually around $25 to $30 a person. So they focus more on quality rather than quantity, because you're paying $30, whereas going to Hurricane Harbor in Arlington, Texas, you're going to pay upwards of $80 to $90. So given the fact that you're paying $30, you're getting about half of what you would get at Hurricane Harbor, maybe less than half, but still, it's a local water park. It's something that's small. So I think it works out pretty good in its favor that way. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. We're going to rate this park a good 9 out of 10. I mean, they did a fantastic job. The new management came in, did a good job. We had a blast when we went. We'll definitely be going back sometime later this week just to kind of have some fun. So definitely would recommend going to this park if you come through here. That's going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. We'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.